Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Let's all enjoy this week of Thanksgiving. And no, you do not have to abide by a decree of only 10 people in your home. You have rights afforded to you by the Constitution. Use them. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Real Live Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, Real Live Patriots. Good morning. Number one, that's America, and we're proud to be Americans. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires and service. Don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a Real Live Patriot. Good morning.
Good morning, Deb.
How are you today?
Good.
Well, I want to talk to you after you do the pledge, so go ahead, please.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just going to take a quick minute and talk to you and all the others that attended that prayer rally for the United States of America Saturday. God bless each and every one of you for your efforts, and I was so glad to be there and be a part of it. Thank you so much.
It was an amazing, just amazing, very spiritual, very touching. We are so thankful and so grateful for the people that come, for the people that did not. We videotaped it. We have a link to it. We want to share it. We just want to unite people in prayer.
And we better continue with that attitude, stronger than ever before. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep, that's right. God bless America. Right now, we're going to go to the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Hello, Roger. At 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. The whole crew gets there early in the morning to serve you at K&R Rental with the best of tools and equipment for any kind of a job that you need to take care of. They've got water pumps. They've got excavators to put all those water lines in. They've got every kind of equipment you could need or want for both long and short-term rental at K&R Rental, 678-3122. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Winter could be making an appearance this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Slight chance of snow showers for today, mostly in the afternoon. It is going to be cloudy with a high of 39. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25. Clouds sticking around for tomorrow, gradually clearing, high of 39 by Wednesday. 40% chance of snow showers, and we are expecting a high of 39 by Thanksgiving, partly sunny, and 37. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, she does a great job. Thank you, Gina. And the weather, of course, brought to you by Roger and his great staff at K&R Rental. If you've got questions about the equipment you need to finish any kind of a job, give them a call, 678-3122. Located at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn on the Burley Paul Highway, K&R Rental. Want to also, caller, stand by. You know the drill. I want to also give a great big shout out. And yet, I I forgot to stop in last week. I got a whole great big bag full of clothes that need to be unrumpled and cleaned. And I'm going to stop into Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Hello, Kevin and Cindy. They've got the very, very best of dry cleaning techniques to make your clothes look good, sharp, and last longer. Always at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I've been going there for years and years, and I know the people that have taken my suggestion, they've gone in there and been very, very happy with Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. And also a real quick reminder, before we go too much further, Denny's Restaurant. Oh, America's Diner. I mean, they are going to be so busy this week for those that want a turkey dinner, but by golly, they don't have a home to go to, or maybe they don't have family in the immediate area. Hey, they've got turkey, and they've got the delicious pies. They've got a menu that'll knock your boots off delicious at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Fantastic people serving you, too. They take care of you at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Caller, a good morning to you.
Well, a good morning to you, too, Zeb.
What's going on, my friend?
You know, when you were a boy growing up, your mother used to more or less give you advice, not demanding it, but suggesting that you do what she says.
Mm-hmm.
And if she set the example there, but didn't follow it, then you're not going to follow it either. This reminds me of a thing in California. Gruesome Newsom makes this mandate about the gathering of people and this and that and the other. But then he goes to the French Laundry, which is a heck of a name for a restaurant, and they had a gathering there. The only thing is, it was all on film.
Yeah, he was caught. He was caught.
Now the situation is, he said he's sorry.
Yeah.
No, he's not sorry he did it. He's sorry he got caught.
You got it right, my friend. You know, I'm just going to say this, Keith, and I don't care if you agree with me or not, or any of my audience agrees with me or not. Executive orders are not to be heeded. You don't have to follow those. I'm telling you, when it comes to regulating private, personal lives, the executive orders are unconstitutional. They have to be passed by a legislature to become laws before they have to be adhered to. And I'm sick and tired of the American public falling into the rut of when somebody says something, they bow down and worship to the idol of that governor.
Well, that's true. But, you know, the people of southern Idaho are paying attention to this COVID. This morning on the news, it said Cassia County only had 2 new cases.
Yeah.
Minidoka County only had 2 new cases.
Yeah.
Are we having somebody watching over us? No. We're just doing what is right.
Yeah, we're using common sense. We're using common sense, but I'm sick and tired of dictating to people what they must do, what they can do, what they can't do, and the idiocy of Oregon Governor Kate Brown saying that, well, I'll tell you what, you better make sure you better not have more than 10 people over for Thanksgiving, or we'll issue a warrant and we'll have you arrested. That's insane, Keith.
Well, you know, the people of California are starting to speak up and wake up, and they've got a petition going for his recall. And I wished I could sign that, because this guy is bad news.
Well, there's quite a few of them that need to be recalled. Now, I'm not going to beleaguer any more time on this, but right now, Inslee in Washington is about as bright as a burned-out light bulb. Kate Brown in Oregon, she'll let the rioters and looters and crazy people take over her city, but she's going to tell people at Thanksgiving they can't have more than 10 at the table to celebrate and thank God for all of our blessings. That's nuts. It's nuts. And I'm telling you, I'm going to really go against anything they say. Keith, I appreciate your call. You set me off, old buddy. Thank you.
You bet. You have a wonderful day.
I will. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. And they also get there early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. We had one of their great staff over at our house the other day to do a little fixing up for us. Nice people and the experience. I'm telling you, all your heating and cooling and electrical needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And the number again, 678-0459. And they wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb. The lunch at the Burley Senior Center today is tater tot casserole and all of the trimmings. It's going to be a great lunch.
Well,
$5.
it sounds really delicious. All the meals over there sound delicious, Joe. And I just want to extend to you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving, and tell all the people over at the Senior Center on Addison that we said hello and God's blessings to them. Would you please?
Thank you very much. We appreciate what you do for us.
All right, Joe. Take care. Thank you. Great place to eat. Call them. Take out lunch for only $5. I mean, my goodness, you can go over there, take it home, back to your office, whatever. The Senior Center on Overland Avenue in Burley with my dear friend Joe Taylor. Hey, thoughts go out this morning to our dear friends at Dino Septic Service. Oh, boy, are they good at what they do. And what they do is not what we want to do. Follow my drift. Septic tank pumping and liquid waste removal and sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. Oh, no. I've got a lot of things to do. I got to rearrange my sock drawer. But they do it with a smile on their face. Let me tell you, Dino Septic Service. 3 numbers I'll give you. They are the best at what they do. Fast, fair, friendly service. 436-6526. Or in Burley, 678-1638. And in Twin Falls, hello, Twin 735-8281. The best Dino Septic Service. You get a hold of them today. Okay? I wasn't kidding. I'm just so enraged that we are falling into the rut of being told what we can do, but it is not lawful to be told what we can do. It's just absolutely crazy to think that you're going to possibly and very probably have more than 10 people in your home for Thanksgiving. Good for you. God bless you for having the family together. That's what it's all about, family. And to think that the law enforcement, is going to be taking the time and effort to knock on people's doors and say, well, you've got more than 10 people, there's 11, throw one of them out the back door. No, that's not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen, and it can't happen. Okay? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Yeah, like you say, all of these edicts are unconstitutional. You look at the First Amendment. Churches are still pretty, in many cases, locked down in the sense that people have to wear a mask, or, I mean, of course, but they're unconstitutional. I mean, the right to freely assemble, that is in your own home. You can assemble in your own home. You don't have to be out protesting whatever's going on.
Well, wait a minute, Adrian. You and I both know and have read the Constitution. I don't know how many times you have, but I've been a student of it for a long, long time. If it's not a law, then they can blow smoke up the TP top before anybody has to adhere to it. It's almost as ludicrous as some governor saying, you have to shut your business down. Show me how and why and what law was broken that they have to shut a business down, and without having any kind of common cause as to why they shut it down, a decree, etc. I mean, this is lunacy.
It is lunacy, and so many businesses right here in Magic Valley and, all over the nation, a lot of businesses are closing down, and they're never going to reopen.
Whatever happened, Adrian? Whatever happened to due process? I mean, those are a couple of words in our legal system that are absolutely being thrown in the trash barrel.
Well, absolutely, but here's another thing that there's a doctor, the Europeans are kind of waking up a little bit more here. We're kind of locked down with Dr. Fossey, unfortunately. And the one guy that developed this PCR test. He said it was never intended to be a diagnostic tool. So they put some kind of spin on it. If they put so many spins on it, you'll find that you got some kind of a infection. I'm not using the right word, but anyway. And he said that the bottom line, 97% false positives.
Yeah.
97%.
Yeah.
The reason they're finding all these cases, they go out and test, and even the CDC said, if you don't have symptoms, don't get tested. Well, there's a good reason for that, because you're liable to find you're positive even if you're not. So the symptoms, yeah, certainly some people are getting sick. I know a couple people have had some minor symptoms, and you probably do too.
Mm-hmm. But
on the other hand, as far as they say that the hospitals are full, I have a feeling the flu season is on us, and the CDC's not even monitoring.
Yeah, but wait a minute. I gotta interrupt you here. Adrian. We gotta have a two-way conversation. You brought up a very good point about the flu season and what enhances the flu season when you have people locked up together indoors, no fresh air, no exercise, can't go anywhere. This is insane.
It's just ludicrous. It really is. It is insane, and it's ludicrous. Yeah. And get out. Well, it's not very warm out there, but I go for a walk every day for about a mile or two.
Yep.
And I've been doing that all along. But the mask thing, of course, we discussed. You're breathing back carbon dioxide instead of getting enough oxygen. So people's immune system. I have a feeling a lot of people have been masked down and have been scared to death. This whole thing of cases from the very beginning has been to scare us into submission.
I agree with that.
Hospitals haven't been all that full. Now they're filling up with flu people and so forth, because they're not all COVID-19.
I agree with everything you said, and I'm stacked up with calls. Adrian, you set it off good this morning. That's what I was going to talk about. Thank you so much. I got to run and take another call. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, sir. Thank you. What really scares me, in accordance with what Adrian just said, is if we kowtow and stop and say, oh, okay, we won't celebrate Thanksgiving. Oh, okay, we won't celebrate Christmas. To me, that's just like giving the left, the insidious, evil left, more of an opportunity to say, well, you're not going to get it next year either. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. I just want to remind everybody, your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today and find out more about these Lennox home comfort systems. 678-0459 or visit RamseysOnline.com. See dealer for details. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Top of the morning to you, laddie.
How are you?
I'm finer than a frog hair split 4 ways.
Let's just see. I'm going to take a little poll whether you agree with me or not. Are you going to abide by edicts and commands of governance without having laws to back them up?
Well, if it's not a law, I'm not going to obey by it. If it's common sense and I think it's right for me, then I might do it. But
Bingo.
They cannot suggest you do something and then write you a ticket and throw you in jail for not doing it.
You know what really gripes me the most when you think about it? I don't care if it's Governor Little, I don't care if it's Newsom, I don't care if it's that idiot Inslee over in Washington or whomever, or Cuomo, the worst in New York State, is that they still get their paychecks while they're telling everybody to go out of work and be unemployed.
I think they ought to just stop their paychecks and their job is non-essential.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you want us to go without paycheck, you go without one. But I was watching Newsmax this weekend, and they had a doctor on talking about masks and what they are. And he says the mask is only good for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And he says they are like, a mask is like putting up a chain link fence around your yard to keep mosquitoes out.
That's a good analogy.
And I thought that was great.
I'm going to ask Sean if he could regulate the little bit of feedback there, if you would, please, Sean. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. And I don't need a bunch of crank phone calls on my cell phone condemning me for what I said last week. I mean, I'm getting sick of some of this thing, but I readily give my number. By the way, I'll do it again. I'm not going to run away from you, 312-2976. But I absolutely am going to wear a mask when I go into a public building where I'm going to be surrounded by somebody or somebodies that might have a cold, might have the flu, might cough, sneeze, or whatever into the air. I'm going to wear a mask at that point to protect me, and I know Deanna's too. But when I get out in the fresh air, do not follow me. I don't care if I'm on public property or if I'm standing in the middle of a bucket of water. I'm not going to wear it outside.
I agree with you 100%. And look what these governors that are really insisting on everything, like Newsom getting caught in that restaurant, and Governor Cuomo of New York, out without a mask. De Blasio going to a health club because he's got to stay healthy to be able to, take care of everybody. And Pelosi going to a salon. If they're not doing it, if it was really serious and it worked, they would be doing it.
The point I'm not going to abide by unless it's a law. Unless it's a law. I'm not going to do any of these edicts. None of them. Only I'm going to use common sense that I warrant as protecting my wife and myself. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And look at that governor of South Dakota.
Yep, Kristi Loam.
She never shut the state down.
Yep.
She said, here's the things that will help you. You make up your own mind. And that's the way it should be everywhere.
Kristi Noem is one of the most outstanding communicators and just a wonderful lady. And by the way, a lot of people know she's a real live cowgirl, too. And she knows what it's like to be a horseback gathering cows in the snow and everything else. And she's got common sense. Common sense. Imagine that. A politician with common sense.
That's a flower that doesn't grow in everybody's garden.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate it. I got to run. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody. It's that time of year, Thanksgiving. Donate a turkey to the senior center so they can afford their Thanksgiving meal. And if they get extra turkeys, they can keep them over and use them later on. So
yeah.
That's one way to help them. And go there and eat. And you'll leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
When you said donate a turkey, you know what the first thing was that came to my mind?
Do I really want to? Can you say it over the air?
Yeah, Governor Cuomo all wrapped up and ready to go.
Oh, that would be a bird that you just want to throw away.
There you go, foul bird.
Foul bird.
Hey, thanks, man, thanks. All right. Hey, caller, I'll tell you what, I'll take your call real fast because then I got to give some cookies away. Go ahead, please.
That's fine. Good morning, Seb. All this nonsense about not having people over for dinner or, going to the store and wearing these masks. Now, I do wear a mask when I go into the store to go grocery shopping. And I usually wear rubber gloves also because you don't know what people have been doing with their hands and touching stuff.
Yep, I agree.
But as far as telling my family and friends or whatever, we have an open door around this house. Anybody who would like to stop by, I'm not the best cook in the world, but I can put out a halfway decent meal. They're more than welcome to come.
Well, I know you. I know that you are, you and your husband George are a couple of our dearest friends. And I know the health status of both of you, and you know basically the health status of us. I'm not going to risk anything to make my wife sick or make her sicker? Or am I going to do anything that might make me sick? Because right now I can't afford to be sick. So therefore I am going to wear a mask when I go into a public place. Yes, I'm going to take precautions. Deanne wears rubber gloves like you do. That's fine. And the minute we get outside, they come off. I am not going to be told with stupid parameters of, if you're on public property sitting in a pickup, you've still got to wear a mask. Give me a break, and please don't try to impede on what my rights are.
Right. Yeah, I think wearing a mask in your own home, that's going a little bit too far.
A little bit?
What you want to do, that's perfectly fine. But don't try to enforce it on me. I have Lysol. I spray my doorknobs and phones and everything else. But that's because that's what I do, not because somebody told me that I had to do it.
We have rights.
It's gone way on too far. And when you see them out and about, like Cuomo and Newsom, and the only reason why he apologized because the sucker got caught.
Amen. Gruesome Newsom. Yep, he got caught. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. God bless you. Oh, by the way, I didn't mean to talk so loud. I didn't mean to wake George up. He's gone. She's gone. Okay. Bye, Donna. Hey, it's time to give away some cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a bakery. Oh, what a restaurant. You're going to love it. I mean, we just had a couple of weeks ago a peach pie from Sophie's. Oh, delicious. I'll tell you what, you're going to love the cookies. If you win, be sure and get a hold of them and let them know when you'll be coming over for your cookies. I'm going to ask you a little tougher question this morning, but this guy is so real. I mean, he was real in the movies. He wasn't fake, phony, or etc. He was a cowboy. And name the cowboy actor that came out of retirement from a real estate business to co-star in the great Western classic Ride the High Country with Randolph Scott. Both of those actors, Randolph Scott and this actor, were in retirement. They had quit the movies. And this actor I want to get the name for had a big real estate business and a ranch and everything else. Name that actor that co-starred in the movie Ride the High Country with, and I'm not going to mention the name, but the one actor was Randolph Scott. Who was the other one that co-starred in that movie? And it was about two ex-lawmen getting together for the very last time. What was the name of that actor? Give me a call quickly. And he was a millionaire through his real estate developments. Actually, he kidded. He said he made more money in the movies than he ever did, or in the real estate business than he ever did in the movies. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Joel McCrae.
Who is this?
Oh, I guess I gotta confess, it's me.
Keith caught him. Now, I'm going to ask you a quick question. How did you know that?
Because I just watched that movie here about 2 weeks ago.
You know, and I got to tell you a little background on that story. Both of these actors were hesitant to come out of retirement and star in that movie, and it was a Sam Peckinpah movie, which Sam Peckinpah is known for his great, elaborate, down-to-fact type Western movies. And one of the quotes was that both of us came up as washed-up actors playing washed-up lawmen, and the movie ended up being a success. So I thought that was great. Joel McCrae, I loved his movies. And I want to ask you one other quick question. Have you seen a lot of Joel McCrae movies?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
I love the old Westerns.
All right. Well, mark my words on this. Mark my words on this. Check out all the Western movies that he starred in his career, like Ride the High Country and many, many more. He always rode one of his own personal favorites, a sorrel with a flaxen mane and tail with a strip face. That was his horse that he personally owned and took into the movie sets.
You know, a lot of people don't notice that, but I do. It's just like our other famous cowboy that I really, really like and that is, I just don't have the answer.
All right. Well, thank you. You won the cookies. Call over there, Keith, and tell them when you're coming.
What I want to do is to have these cookies sent to you-know-who at K-Bar Radio and Sean.
You mean Gina and Sean and Scotty?
That would be the one.
All right, that's a great Thanksgiving gift.
Did you know that they're brother and sister?
Well, yes, absolutely. But let's do this, Keith. We'll try to make arrangements to get those cookies over to Sean and Gina and Scotty. And if Scotty gets his hands on that plate of cookies first, look out, Sean and Gina. Anyway, I'll tell you, thank you. We'll make the arrangements on that. Thank you. I got to run. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Bye. So, Deanne, I know you're listening. We'll try to make arrangements to have those cookies out to Sean, Gina, and the rest of the staff right there, and Scotty. And, Sean, may I make a suggestion? Be looking out for the cookies when they come up the back door.
Oh, I will be.
Okay. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I would love to visit with you. I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of you are going to be offended by it that are perhaps leaning to the left liberal or following Biden. I can't, and I won't honor or respect a left-wing progressive push for governance in America. Can't do it. I won't do it. Any and all policies that are against the Constitution or against common sense and decency, I will defy, I will denounce, and I will denigrate on this program. Now, a lot of people say, well, you've got to go with the flow. You got beaten the election and Biden's taking over and you've got to show your respect for the president, etc. No, I do not. I do not have to honor, respect, or do anything that is against my principles if they impede, hurt, or go against our Constitution. I won't do it. And for those that are going to follow like sheep, that's your problem, not mine. I believe in America first. I am not going to back up on that. All other countries, in my opinion, are secondary to our great United States of America. Now, that's not said to be holier than thou. I love my country. I will honor my country. I will serve my country as number one. And that's the way it's going to be. All else is secondary. But if America falls and America is lessened, all the help and services that we provide for all other peoples around the globe will also be diminished. Help our citizens first, and then we in turn are much more able and willing to cooperate to help others. I am not a globalist. I never will be. I'm laying the cards on the table. If anybody that's liberal left and is concerned about that, hateful of me, spites me, etc., that's fine. America first. And I'm just going to say this. I was watching a television commercial for Tunnels to Towers to help our wounded and dismembered veterans. And it made me so mad that these men and women gave their legs, their arms, their lives for this country, the United States of America. And the dim-witted, pea-brained Democrats like Biden, Pelosi, Schumer, and so many others, they want to make us a globalist society. What did our veterans die for? What did our veterans give their legs and arms for? And their lives are so absolutely diminished because of wheelchairs and everything else. They fought for this country, not for some other country. I will not support globalist ideals. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Good talking to you. I think you'll know who this is. I was wondering if you and I could undertake a small research project just touching on the topic you were just talking about. Last week, I read a news article that came from a fairly well-known establishment. I'll send you the link in a little bit. But it talked about, it said that Joe Biden had met with a select group of governors, the executive committee for the National Governors Association. I believe Governor Little is the president of that group. I'm trying to find out this week if our governor met last week with Joe Biden to discuss, among other things, a national mask mandate. I would be very curious to know why our governors are meeting with a man who has not been elected as president yet. It just kind of chilled me to the bone to think that that would have happened.
Well, and I agree with you. I will find out. As a matter of fact, I'm making notes as you're speaking. If you sent me that information, I'll get it after this program. I will call up to the governor's office, and I will find out. I will find out, and I will put it on this program. But I go back to our Constitution, caller. And please, I know you, I know who you are, and I know that you are very, very well educated in our Constitution. But I will lay this by your plate, and you pick it up and tell me what you think. You can't do, you being these governors like Cuomo and Brown and Inslee and Newsom, you can't make governor edicts unless it's a law, and that's against our Constitution. Am I right or wrong?
You're absolutely right, and it's going to come back to making the Idaho State Constitution and our county charters great again. Is your sheriff willing to stand behind you and not enforce that? Are our state police willing to not enforce the laws and not enforce those edicts, because they are not laws? For the most part here in Idaho, we have been able to stave that off. Last week, the South Central Health District met, and the people who were appointed by our county commissioners ultimately voted down, although it was close. It was a 5-4 vote to not pass any mask mandates. And I know on good authority that most of the sheriffs within our 8-county district were not willing to enforce it. But then you look at Ada County, who today just went under mandatory mask mandates everywhere, and their governor has basically said, I'm going to start enforcing this, and the police are going to start enforcing this. I mean, there's scary things happening right here. We don't even have to look to California and Washington.
Amen. So
hopefully the citizens of Boise will take care of that, but they're probably going to need some help. And, I think we have to look to our leaders and ask them the questions. If, like Governor Little, if he really did meet with those people, why is our governor meeting with President? He's not even the president yet. Why is he meeting with Joe Biden?
Yeah, really.
That should not be happening. After January, if he's truly elected, great, he can do it. But at this point, that's fishy.
The votes have not been certified from the various states. Joe Biden is perhaps going to be the president-elect, but nothing has been certified and finalized. And I want to leave you with one note that I know you're going to agree with me, and this came straight from a judge that is well known all across this country. He said, quote, "These executive orders regulating private, personal behavior are profoundly unconstitutional and even criminal."
I agree, 100%.
Thank you for your call. I'm tied up. I got a whole bunch more. Thank you. God bless you. I'll look forward to that link. Thank you.
All right.
All right, sir.
Bye.
Caller, I've got to do the weather, but I'm going to take your call first. I don't want to have you hold on. Go ahead quickly, please.
Yes, good morning, Jeb. How are you today?
I'm running late, Jerry, real fast.
Okay, I got a complaint. I went over to that program you guys put on Saturday, and I could not get in. There was one handicap access to the whole program, and it was blocked by one car that was parked next to your truck. drove up and down that road 5 times looking for a way in. I can't understand how come a city the size of Burley cannot make sure there's a way for people that have a problem getting around to try and get into an activity. They can't have it, the handicap accessible area open instead of block it by one car.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jerry, if I'd have known that you were there, I would have moved my truck to let you have my space. I don't know if you got out of your vehicle or not. I don't know if you talked to somebody or not. I would have been more than happy to move my truck to give you my parking spot. I am not going to criticize this movement. Sure, I feel bad that you couldn't find a place, but on the other hand, what these people did on Saturday was absolutely red, white, and blue Americanism, and we need more of it. And in the future, I'll make sure you personally get in. But I'm not going to denigrate what happened on Saturday.
Well, I'm not going to denigrate the program either, because I really would have liked to have been there.
Well,
I think it was a great idea. I think who did a wonderful thing.
Well, I certainly appreciate that.
Several of our guys there, the Minicad.
I know there were.
They blew the bugle, and they had flags and stuff like that they brought in.
Absolutely. I got to run and do the weather, Jerry. I'm way late.
With them because I'm a member of
Absolutely. And I know that, and I appreciate that. But rather than be negative about it, let's make sure that in the future, another one that everything's taken care of, and I'll be more than happy to roll out the red carpet for you and make arrangements to get you front and center. I got to run, Jerry. God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Okay. And you were parked fine. That wasn't where the access was.
Well, I said I would give you my parking spot. I will. I got to get to the weather, Jerry. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Weather forecast brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're right behind the Minidoka County Hospital across from the emergency room, and the number to call for a hearing screening. I urge you to do this, 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Please consult them for your hearing problems. They are good. How do I know? Because they help me. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Winter could be making an appearance this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Slight chance of snow showers for today, mostly in the afternoon. It is going to be cloudy with a high of 39. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25. Clouds sticking around for tomorrow, gradually clearing, high of 39 by Wednesday. 40% chance of snow showers, and we are expecting a high of 39 by Thanksgiving, partly sunny, and 37. That's a look at your weather for 7th Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And believe me, they can help you and your hearing needs at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Please call 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, wishing you a very happy Thanksgiving. Real quick, and then I'll take some more calls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Burley Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. 3 locations, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. Don't forget they've got all the Bobcats, all the different shape sizes, all the trenchers, scissor lifts, all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. For the lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying jobs, you want equipment that's going to get the job done. They have it at Burley Equipment and Rental. In Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, you get a hold of those good folks today. No, I tell you what, folks, it's time to exercise your rights and freedoms. It's time to look, study, and understand what the Constitution says and does. It's time to realize that overpaid, underworked governors or people in power are trying to take away your rights. And we need to know how we stand, where we stand, and why we stand on certain issues. The commercial. Again, I want to go back to this, and you've seen it. I know you have. With the veterans coming home, and they're lacking legs, arms, and it's so sad. They gave their livelihood for this country. The United States of America. They didn't give their limbs for the promotion of another country. No. They gave their lives and their blood, sweat, and tears for the flag of the United States of America. And damn any politician that tries to alter that, change that, milk it down to nothingness because, oh, well, we believe in globalism. No, I don't. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. One of the major problems we've got is that many of our Republican politicians don't understand or don't want to understand that we're living in a political jungle. And if you don't get out there and get as vicious as your competition is, you are not going to survive. And this is our problem today. We've got so many Republican politicians, they're like a bunch of docile women, won't stand up and fight. And this is why we're collapsing.
I can't argue that. I find what you said to be, in many, many, many ways, so true that the Republican Party is not standing up against the socialistic values, if you want to use that term, values with socialism. It's kind of an oxymoron. But we are in trouble. I know that Biden wants to put us right back into the Paris Climate Accord. I know he's probably going to start adherences to the Green New Deal. I know he's going to try to promote free college or debt forgiveness to college, which I think is asinine stupid. I think he's going to see Medicare for all, which means Medicare for none. I don't know about you, Tony, but I am sweating. I am really sweating with my veins sticking out in hatred against this new administration.
Well, you get people like Biden, they're political animals, and they'll stop at nothing to get what they want. They'll destroy just about anything, even their own family, if they have to. Unless we change our ways, we're going to go under.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, I don't want to be a globalist. I love my country. They can call me a white supremacist or a white nationalist, whatever they want to call me. I don't care what they call me, for Pete's sakes. I love this country. I love the sight of that red, white, and blue. I love the fact that I lost family members and friends that fought and died for me to have the freedoms I have in this country. And I will not subvert that belief and that love to follow along the yellow brick road of communism, socialism, and stupidity.
Well, we need to be the lion in the jungle, and if we don't get back to that, baby, we're finished.
You got it, buddy. God bless you, Tony. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Caller, I've only got 2 minutes left. You're going to have to go real fast.
Hi, Zeb. How can there be so many people in this United States of America believe in a person, actually two persons, who are liars, blackmailers, and people that want to take our freedoms away from us? How can they be so stupid to believe in that?
I don't have the answer for that. I don't have the answer for what you're asking as to how we can be so stupid. But when you look at an education system overall and in general that doesn't take the time to teach civics, it doesn't take the time to really teach the worthwhile history of this, the greatest country on the face of the earth, what more can you expect?
This is true, but I just don't see how they can't see it. How can the election was such a total fraud, and how can they not realize that President Trump has done his darndest to make our country better?
I agree.
It's just beyond me. Have a good day.
No, wait a minute. I want to wish you something. God bless you for your call, and I hope and pray that you have a blessed Thanksgiving. Thank you so much.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Our major sponsor, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. And like Gina said a little bit ago, we're going to start seeing some more tastes of winter with that angel dandruff forming on the roads and the highways and byways. So you better make sure you've got the tires that are going to get you through all the muck and the yuck and the snow and everything. They've got them, all of them, at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Yes, have a good battery. Turn that engine over on those cold mornings. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, of course Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, none better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're going to take a little break for about 7 minutes. I got to cool down, take my blood pressure medicine, be back in about 7. Don't go away. Oh, good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best in tires and service, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And now, cue up the theme song for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand. Always at Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services.
Oh boy, I tell you what, they are busy this time of the year. A lot of people are cleaning up the house, cleaning out the house, the basement, the upstairs. Grandma and Grandpa are coming over for Thanksgiving. My goodness sakes. Get a dumpster. They've got them in various sizes. Call. They'll drop one off. You fill it up. They'll come and get it. It's as easy as that. You're always depending upon their being at your disposal, and they are. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Want to also give a great big shout out this morning to our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and of course your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Don't forget Lennox Home Comfort Systems through Ramsey Heating and Electric, and of course the number to call 678-0459, or visit the Ramsey'sOnline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Absolutely. One more quick note before we go any further, and I want to say a great big thank you, and I know that they want to wish you and yours a happy Thanksgiving. Our friend Joel Heward, his family and staff over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. These are really community-oriented people and so helpful, and when there's the passing of a loved one, they are there to serve you with, of course, the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Remember, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Every Monday, I think Monday to a lot of people is, I don't want to go back to work. Well, Monday in my case is a day where I get to visit with people that I just absolutely enjoy, listening to their opinions on various and sundry items. And this next man is one of those. He's president of Americans for Limited Government. Amen. Here he is, Rick Manning. Good morning, sir.
Hey, how are you, Zeb?
Well,
you're so kind in your introductions. I really appreciate it.
Well, you are. You're so kind for giving us the time that you have to listen to what's really honestly going on back there. And before we get smothered in all the political things, I want to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving.
Back at you. It's a, just half second. Thanksgiving is one of those days that gets lost. It's We think about shopping for Christmas, and we think about all sorts of silly things. We think about turkeys, we think about football, we think about everything but what it's supposed to be about, and that is, giving thanks to our Creator for everything He's given us and the blessings, and recognizing that the Pilgrims in November of 1621, they had lost about 40% of the people who were on the Mayflower were dead. They had starved. They had gone through harsh winter, and they didn't have much to show for crops in 1621 because they were operating under a socialist system, and nobody was working very hard. And so they were looking ahead to a winter of privation where they were going to be really hungry. But they did celebrate Thanksgiving for the blessings that God had given them. And if the Pilgrims in 1621, with all that, could praise God for the blessings He provided, then Americans in 2020 can praise God for the blessings we've been provided in this lockdown COVID period of kind of just, define it however you want to, but we all are affected by it, and everybody thinks 2020 is the worst year ever. Well, 1620 wasn't that great a year for the Pilgrims. 1621 was worse. So you get right down to it. Those who landed on our shores went through death, they went through disease, they went through everything you can imagine, and their numbers were decimated, more than decimated, and yet they still gave thanks to the Lord. So this Thursday, look around. Look, if you're Zooming with people, look around and count your blessings.
Amen.
And thank God for them.
Amen. Thank you for that. Rick, I've got so many topics this morning and so little time. I guess I'll ask you in a very abbreviated manner, is there any hope at all left? 2.5 weeks since the election that Donald Trump could possibly find loopholes to put him back and keep him in office, or is it a done deal?
There is hope, and they aren't loopholes. Let me be clear. There was massive fraud in this election. The massive fraud did flip votes, flip states in this election. The last 2.5 weeks has been putting together the facts on it, and certainly not all of them, but enough. And there's two things that have to happen. First of all, the federal court has to actually have the guts to deal with the case and actually hear evidence. If the federal court won't hear evidence, then that evidence needs to be leaked out rapidly so they get inundated with the evidence, and they have no choice for their own legitimacy but to deal with it. So we're going to end up at the Supreme Court level at some point, and they're going to say, here's what the law is. These trial judges erred, here's what the law is. And what that will do is it will put our state legislators on the spot. And state legislators, and let's just use Pennsylvania as an example, where the Republican state legislature, and they will have a choice. They will know that the election was stolen by Philadelphia. The people who elected them to office don't live in Philadelphia, and they're going to be mad. And so the state legislators are going to have to decide, are they going to stand up for the actual vote, the real vote, and stand up against fraud, or are they not going to? And the only way they're going to be able to stand up against fraud will be to say, I do not know how the election went. I have no idea, and we have no way of knowing because Philadelphia and Pittsburgh cheated. And so we don't know how the election went. We don't know what the outcome is. And as a result, we cannot appoint electors to the Electoral College. And that'll be challenged in the courts again. But there's no rule that says they have to pick electors. And so they say we're not picking electors. And at that point, you take 20 electors off of Joe Biden's column. You need 2 other states to do that, which is possible. I think we flipped Wisconsin through the recount process. So you need one other state besides Wisconsin to do that. And I think it's very probable that we flip Arizona through the recall process or through the recount process. So given that, if Pennsylvania does that, and you flip both Arizona and Wisconsin, which I think is very doable, Joe Biden no longer has the votes to be above 270, and it goes to U.S. House of Representatives. That's what has to happen. It takes, you have to have some luck, and you have to have legislators in Pennsylvania and Michigan have the guts to do the right thing.
They're in.
Georgia have the guts to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's, ultimately, that's how it gets solved. And if the federal courts don't do anything, the preponderance of the evidence will be out there, and it's up to people like me and Idaho state legislators to call up the colleagues in Pennsylvania and say, this election was clearly stolen by Philadelphia. Stand up and do the right thing. And if you can't determine who should have been the elector, who should have got the electors, you can't appoint electors. They have to get that from all over the country, not just Pennsylvania. And because that, we have to fight. This is now a political battle. It's no longer a legal battle. So we have to fight it like a political battle. And as a result, and that's what I'm doing. That's why we're talking about this. So there is a recourse. It is not a high probability that Donald Trump will win this, but I believe collecting a tallies that were ill-gotten is a necessary task for people to believe that elections as a whole are honest. And if ill-gotten elections, if fraud is not stood up to, if cheaters prosper, is from the old saying, if cheaters actually prosper, who's going to be stupid enough not to cheat next time? I know I won't be. So, if the game is who can steal the most votes, who can lie the most, well, at some point you have to make a decision. Is this a banana republic or is this a constitutional republic? If you allow the cheaters to prosper, we've become a banana republic.
Absolutely. Rick, over the weekend, I sat and watched the news, took notes on the news, made little personal notes about how my feelings on certain stories, etc. And the more that we listen to and try to find out about a potential Biden-Harris administration, the more we see globalism, the more we see socialism, the more we see a very scary cabinet being formed of progressives that could lead this country into obscurity as a third world country, like you said. And I made the comment earlier this morning that there's absolutely no way, and you feel free to correct me on this, there's no way as a talk show host and a 73-year-old grandfather that I can honor or respect a left-wing progressive push for governance in this country against our Constitution and common sense and decency. I can't do it, I won't do it, and I'll preach against it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just had this conversation in my office across the hall. We're trying to what to do with all these calls for unity, and let me just be 100% clear. The Senate, assuming it's still controlled by the Republicans, should treat Biden nominees the way Trump nominees were treated. And that means if you're nominated for an assistant secretary post, you might get in by the end of the first term. Okay? Year and a half, 2 years. That's what they did to every single one of our nominees. Every single one. People put their lives on hold, and they were unable to actually take the jobs because the Democrats in the Senate blocked them all. Well, guess what? The Republicans presumably are going to have the majority. If they have a majority, they can block them until the cows come home. And the fact is, you've got two senators in Idaho, and I predict that each one of them would want to be, we got to have unity. We have to work together. Well, you need to tell them that's not acceptable. Okay? It's time for them to stand up for Idaho and to actually stand against nominees who are unsuitable for the positions. And it's not okay to go ahead and say and push nominees through because the president has to have his team in place because the other side didn't allow this president to have his team in place. micro PAC as an example, at the corporation it's the people who do it's the people who do broadcasting around the world.
Right.
Putting American ideals out. I can't remember the name of it. Voice of America. Spent 3 years waiting to get approved. He finally got in, 3 years into it. That's a standard. That's the rule. It's been set up. So now that that's the rule, the other side's going to have to abide by it. And the Republicans, if they are doing their job, will force every one of those nominees to have to defend every single thing they've ever done in their life and put them through living hell like every single one of our nominees had to go through. That's one of the ways we fight. Secondly, they put some really bad precedents into place, which now they're going to dislike a lot. I'll give you an example. Under DACA, the President of the United States sought to rescind an executive order by the previous president. And guess what? The Supreme Court held that he couldn't just do that. He had to go through some kind of Administrative Procedures Act, which is false, a bad decision. But right now what that means is if President Biden, God forbid, if President Biden is actually in the White House, every single time he tries to rescind an executive order, he's challenged. He can't do it under precedent. So we force him to live by the rules that they created. And eventually the Supreme Court will rescind the bad decision they made. Essentially we will learn that there were laws that Trump had to follow, and there are laws that the rest of the presidents have to follow. And we'll discover that that's really the truth. But we're going to fight them, and you force them to eat the laws they did. I'll give you a straight Idaho example. Let's say they come up with some Green New Deal thing that Idaho doesn't like. The state of Idaho should use the precedent that California used on sanctuary cities and being a sanctuary state and say, well, we're not following that. Just not following it. And we're not going to allow federal inspectors and federal government officials to enforce it in Idaho. Because that's what they did with sanctuary cities in California. Mm-hmm. And the Supreme Court said that the federal government still had to give law enforcement money to the state of California, in spite of the fact they weren't enforcing California U.S. law on something that's clearly a constitutional prerogative of the federal government. So given that, the state of Idaho can should get in a compact with other states and effectively tell the federal government, we're not following your law. If they have bad grazing laws, we're not following it. If they have bad mining laws, we're not following it. Essentially tell the federal government that on areas where they're trying to expand their authority and this state of Idaho says they don't like it, they should be aggressive in establishing the state prerogative, the state right, that was established by the state of California related to illegal immigration and enforcement of illegal immigration. Because what's good for California has to also be good for Idaho. And let the Supreme Court go to the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court overturn a horrific decision that allows California to thumb their nose at the federal government on something that's clearly written in the Constitution as being the prerogative of the federal government. But let first the Democrats to undo the bad constitutional law they created by challenging them, use their tactics, challenge them back, and force them to eat it, and delay them for years on those fights. Because ultimately what the Democrats did to Donald Trump is they tried to run out the clock, and they may have been successful. Mm-hmm. Their goal is to delay, obstruct every step of the way so the clock got run out. And so, the clock may be running out right now. So we have to take what they did and the bad law they created in doing it, and we have to use that bad law against them. And part of that is a state like Idaho having the courage to stand up, get together with other states that are like-minded, and create a compact with those states. They're going to stand up for private property, stand up for land use, stand up for whatever the issues that they can come together on. And their attorney generals just fight like crazy against the federal government take over those arenas, using the precedent set by the state of California.
Amen.
So That's my answer. We have to fight.
Amen. Well stated. We have a caller with a comment. Caller, quickly, you're on the air.
Yes, my concern is when this election, special election, is taking place in Georgia, and it splits half and half, we're still not out of the woods because we got Markowski from Alaska, we got Romney from Utah, and we got Susan Collins from Maine. I don't know how it's going to look any worse than that.
All right, caller, thank you. I'm short on time, so I'll have Rick go ahead and address your question. Go ahead.
She's in cycle, so she can't be crazy. Okay, she's up for election in 2022.
Right.
So she's much less likely to be crazy. That's number one. Two, the Democrats, the reason them getting the majority matters, or getting to 50 matters to them, is that will allow them to eliminate the filibuster. Susan Collins is not going to vote to eliminate the filibuster. Mitt Romney is not going to vote to eliminate the filibuster. No Republican, Ben Sass from Nebraska, won't vote to eliminate the filibuster. So given that, the Democrats, to be able to achieve their agenda, need to get to 50, plus Kamala Harris, in order to eliminate the filibuster so they can get anything done with a straight party line vote, 50 Democrats. And yes, in terms of getting anything done on a positive level, it's not going to happen. But if the filibuster's in place, 41 Republicans can block anything that the Democrats and Murkowski want to do. Okay? So ultimately, that is that becomes the standard, is you have to hold the filibuster in place. And listeners of this show know that I was extraordinarily frustrated with the filibuster during the Trump years, because essentially you couldn't get anything done. But in this instance, since the filibuster's there and they used it, now we have to use it as a tool. And so if we get to 51, if we keep 51, we will be able to stop them with filibuster. The real problem will be likely be in 2023. I hate to think too far ahead, but a lot of really hard Republican states are up and with Republican congressmen and our senators, and it will be difficult to hold the Senate in 2022. And as a result, you really want to have a 2-vote cushion. So we have to win both for long term, for have a little bit more cushion in 2023. But that's that ultimately, your concern is right, but I don't think if we win one, I think we can hold them off this time. But but it'll put us in real jeopardy in 2022.
Rick, I wished I had more time. One of these days I'm going to ask if you wouldn't give us a full hour. I appreciate it. Rick Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. Again, from Deanne and I to you and your family, God bless. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and Deanne. And, don't watch the news on Thanksgiving. Just give thanks to God. That's what I'm going to do.
Amen. Thank you. God bless you. There are words of advice for all of us. Yes, turn the news off on Thanksgiving and give thanks to God. We've got so much to be thankful for. Thank you, Rick. Right now, I also want to remind you about our dear friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Oh, my goodness, yes, Nick Greenwell and his very, very efficient staff, the best of physical therapists for you. All the exercises, the hydrotherapy pool, everything to get you back to being you. Please call, make an appointment, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. They're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I urge you to call them. Make an appointment today. Want to also mention about our friends at Denny's Restaurant. Oh, my goodness sakes, America's Diner. All the delicious food. And don't forget, they've got the turkey dinners and the pies. And, oh, boy, I mean, you can just go in there and have a feast. A feast! Whether it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It doesn't make any difference. It's all great, all delicious, served by really nice, friendly people. They're located at 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Don't forget, Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Along with some of the great words that we've had this morning, I want to remind you just in a moment, a couple of minutes, we're going to be going over to Golden, Colorado for my dear friend Frosty Woldridge, but stand by. I want to remind you, too, that we're supposed to be getting snow, lots of snow here before too long. And at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and the World, they've got all your snowmobiles. They've got a showroom full of fun. Oh, my, you've got to get over there. Yes, their hours are 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. And then on Saturdays, 9 to 2. No excuse. You've got plenty of time to get in there and make sure you can get outside this winter and enjoy. Absolutely. All the accessories, and to keep you running, they've got a super service department too at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24, between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. And by the by, when you're over in that area, and I'm very, very high on these folks, they do a super job of protecting you, your family, and your business. I'm talking about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yes, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more, and great service to you. Todd and the crew, they care. Number to call, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Another one of my dearest friends on Monday, along with the gentleman we just had on the air, my dear friend Rick Manning. It's also a gentleman that's been friends of mine and Deanne for, my goodness, over 20 years. And that's, of course, Frosty Woldridge, and back in Golden, Colorado. Good morning, Frosty. How are you?
Well, and good morning to you, Zeb, and just a very dear and abundant Thanksgiving to each and every one of you listening across the country, certainly in Idaho and Northwest. It's a special time of the year. It certainly kicks off our Thanksgiving of our many blessings here in this country. And I know that each one of you are going to sit down to a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner and count your blessings, and I'm counting my blessings, and that we're safe and healthy, and hopefully moving forward here as Americans. And so this great Thanksgiving feast, if you will, and Thanksgiving celebration, God bless us one and all.
I will say this to all of those that are of liberal minds and on the left as far as Democrats, I'm going to be sitting at the Thanksgiving table counting my blessings instead of the number of people at my table.
Yes, well, again, there's no question this country right now is facing some kind of a transformation. I'm not sure if it's going to be a transformation for the good or otherwise. I guess we're going to have to hang on and work for the best, hope for the best, and maintain our activism as citizens of this constitutional republic. And for me, that's the key, that we're all in this together, and we need to all take action and participate in this constitutional republic. So just God bless us one and all.
I want to say this, and it's not meant to add more feathers to your headdress, but I'm just going to say this because it's the truth. The latest piece that you sent me, America and Canada Drifting Toward a Loss of Identity, I want to say this beyond a shadow of a doubt. This is one of my favorites that you have written because it's very poignant. It jabs people in the nose where they need to get hit and understand what's going on in this country. And I thought the entire 3 pages was absolutely magnificently written. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Zeb, and to each of you listening to this broadcast. Again, I'm an all-American boy. I grew up on a farm. My father was a United States Marine. You can't get any more loyal to this country and the flag than I am. And yes, I always recognize the warts that are on the American landscape, and yet we have the ability, because of the Constitution, to not only repair them but make things better, which we have. One of the things that I would highly recommend to you today is go to newswithviews.com, and you'll see it marqueed right up at the top there with my picture, America and Canada drifting toward a loss of identity. And I really bring it home in this article that once a country loses its sense of national identity, whether by thoughtless mass immigration or loss of connection to our American ethos, our culture, if you will, we face a national unraveling in the months or years ahead. In other words, if we percolate anarchy or allow cultural upheaval on ever larger scales, as seen in the last 6 months, it portends a fragmentation of our blacks and whites, our young versus our olds, and our liberals versus our conservatives. And that's a dangerous precedent because it's been happening all over Europe. It's certainly happening in Canada right now. In fact, that piece that was published this morning on newswithviews.com was also published in Canada by Act for Canada, because they are having the same kinds of consequences, thoroughly being overwhelmed and overrun by immigration. Certainly, Vancouver, which was once an all-Canadian city, is now an all-Chinese city. It speaks Chinese, it writes Chinese, and its signage, it's running all the Canadians out. Vancouver is now 65% Chinese, and they don't make any bones about it. They're taking over. And it is my prediction, within the next 10 years, they will have so much power that they will secede from the Canadian Union and no longer be a part of Canada, and then they will be the beachhead for massive immigration, because as you all know, there are 1.4 billion Chinese, and they are stuffed to the gills with people, and they are doing whatever they can to release those people to other parts of the world. And that means Canada gets to be a victim, but so are we, because Chinese are flooding into America right now the same way with the chain migration. So talk about losing identity. Canada is losing its identity, and the United States, obviously, as you can see from the current events that are going on, we're losing identity right to the core of our culture and our being.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a quick comment, and then I'm going to make another statement before you come back on. Thanks, Frosty. Go ahead. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, Frosty, the Chinese, they are without the most vicious, ruthless enemy that we could ever have. There's no doubt about it. They are in everything. People are investing in Chinese companies, whether or not they understand that they're doing it or not, and we're allowing it. They have 400 million Chinese Communist Party members. The standing army is massive. They are building aircraft carriers and fighters that rival ours. Of course, they stole our technology, or we sold it to them or gave it to them. Clinton started it. And how much is Biden giving away? And, the whole thought of China is just so frightening. Now, quickly, I wanted to know, I noticed Cory Gardner lost and Hickenlooper won the Senate seat. And when you get a chance, tell us about Hickenlooper. And one of Zeb's previous guests just now had said that the next state to turn blue was Idaho. And I think that we have went about doing some things here in Idaho to stop that from happening, so the Boise doesn't run the rest of the state. Thank you.
Go ahead and respond quickly, if you would, Frosty.
Yes, the caller is right on. The Chinese feel they are the most superior race on the planet, their ethnic group, and they are pretty smart. The average IQ over in China, if you look it up, is 106. So that's a pretty good collective IQ. It's only 98 here in the United States of America. And so successful civilizations that have a lot of brain power are very successful. And they are using that power, and certainly the power of all the free trade that they've literally sold us down the river in our, whether it was Clinton, whether it was Bush, it goes right on down the line. Our country has been sold out from underneath us, with manufacturing being shipped over to China. And as far as Hickenlooper, our state that was red when I started teaching school way back in 1973 here in Denver, was a solid red state. John Love, you name it. The governor and always senators and House members were all red, but most of California and the East Coast has jumped us from 2 million people to 5.7 million, and so that extra 3.7 million turned out to be Democrats and liberals, and Hickenlooper, who is an open borders fanatic, he's now, along with Bennett, who's an open borders fanatic. Those two senators are blue, and they are absolutely going to let the United States be a doormat for illegal immigration and open borders. That's what's coming, and that's what we're facing. And as ugly as it is, that's what's going to happen to us here in Colorado, and I don't know about Idaho at this point. But we're in a lot of trouble because these liberals, they don't care about how many people come into our country, legally or illegally. They don't care about the future. They simply don't care about the carrying capacity. And so we're all going to become victims of open borders.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this, and I said it last half hour to my dear friend Rick Manning back in Washington, D.C. I am not a globalist. I don't want to be a globalist. And I can't, and you can correct me if you feel the need, Frosty, I can't and I won't honor or respect any left-wing progressive push for governance in this United States of America that's against our Constitution or decency. I won't support it. I will go to the nth degree to fight it on my radio program. I believe in America first. I'll say it again, America first, and I'm not ever going to be a globalist. Your thoughts?
I'm shoulder to shoulder with you, and I understand because I've traveled to all those different countries. The EU, European Union, has destroyed Europe. They literally invited all of that massive immigration coming in from the Middle East, coming in from Africa, coming in from Asia, and they've destroyed their cultures in every one of those countries over there, whether it's Austria, whether it's the UK, whether it's Norway. Just in the last month and a half, a Islamic imam, which is a preacher for the Muslims, declared that Sweden was going to become the first Islamic state in Europe. And he was so sure of himself, he's blasting it all over. And what I want to ask every person listening to this program, and this is the question, what set of ideals or principles, history, and national narrative do any of natural-born Americans share with a Somalian immigrant, or a Congolese immigrant, or a Sudanese, or a Pakistani, or an Ethiopian, or an Indian, or a Chinese national injected into American culture? Does anybody have any affinity to that? And how will that work out as enormous numbers of immigrants pour into America from over 195 different failed countries and cultures? And what happens when their projected numbers reach over 100 million by 2050? Do you think it's possible that we're creating a pathological state of our own demise? And I guarantee you this, Zeb, and every person listening, if we go down this path, and Biden is going to take us down this path, we are literally facing globalists who are going to start dictating to us, the American citizens, the ones that are natural-born. I'm an American natural-born citizen. They're going to start dictating to us who we are going to be forced upon us, all of these immigrants, and then all of this more and more restrictions. And so if that's what you want, just allow this to happen, and it's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm going to stand with you. I do not want globalists doing anything to my Constitution and my country, because this is America, and I stand for America first.
Caller, quickly, you're on the air. I'm only got about 2 or 3 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Zeb, I think it's about time that the millions of veterans in this country that's been over protecting every country in the world to unite in this United States and put a stop to this garbage that's going on. I've got 10 years of service, and I'll be willing to do whatever it takes and join the rest of these veterans.
Amen. Amen. Frosty, respond to the caller, please.
Well, again, I'm going to ask everybody, the way to battle this thing is to run for office, to run for city council, to run for mayor of your city, to run for House member in the United States. House of Representatives to run for the U.S. Senate. If the current senators and House member from Idaho are not doing anything to stop this invasion of our country, then vote them out. And here's what we have to do, and the same thing in Colorado, but every state. The fact is, the majority of the House and the Senate of the United States of America, the majority of the members are not doing anything to stop the invasion of our country. They're not stopping the free trade inequities. They're not doing anything to do what it is America first. And I have to ask each one of you, do we define ourselves by the new House member named Ilhan Omar from Somalia? Does anybody think that she has any affinity or love of this country? She's already asked to dismantle our economic system, and she's going after our social system. Same thing with the Palestinian, which is Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. She's a House member, and she's part of the squad. And then you look at somebody like Maxine Waters out of California. She's angry at everything American. And do we think America needs to be redefined into agreeing with the platform of, say, the Muslim Brotherhood or the Black Lives Matter or Antifa? Because these kinds of organizations are so anti-American, and these House members are so anti-American that and yes, they have the power right now. So again, we better get participating in the constitutional republic by getting into office and stopping this kind of destruction and devaluation of America, our country. I mean, am I right or am I right on this?
There's no question about it. And I said this also last half hour, and I want you to respond to it. I watched a TV commercial, I said over the weekend, and I saw it on TV, about the Tunnel to Towers regarding our wounded and dismembered veterans that came home without their arms, without their legs, many of which came back in coffins and were buried. And they were fighting for the insignia on their uniform of the United States of America. They were not fighting for globalism. They weren't fighting for people like Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib to come in and take over this country and turn it into a third-rate country with all of the socialistic values. And that's where we got to put our foot down. I don't want our soldiers to have lost their arms, legs, and lives in vain.
And I am exactly with you. I mean, I remember my time in the United States Army. You stand for your country. You serve your country. You serve the Constitution. And if all of a sudden we see more of the Muslim Brotherhood or Black Lives Matter or Antifa, where will that take us? What would be the end result of a journey down the path with Muslim Brotherhood? How would we identify with becoming a Muslim state or an Antifa governance? And how would we see ourselves as Americans while not being a country of Americans? You see, we're drifting away essentially from our identity, and if we allow this to happen, and again, you notice this summer they destroyed statues of the past, and I don't care whether it was General Robert E. Lee who graduated from West Point, or Abe Lincoln, or Thomas Jefferson, or Ben Franklin, because of political correctness. What happens? Do we start replacing political correctness with statues of Muhammad the Prophet?
Yeah.
Or Gandhi or Mao? I mean, if you import enough immigrants from those persuasions, you will see their heroes become prominent in place of our founders. That's the grave danger of mass immigration. Few see it, and fewer still speak up or protest it. And honest to God, somebody like Biden who wants to open the borders, and let's face it, Kamala Harris, she's a Jamaican Indian. She's not an American. She is born of Jamaican and Indian parents. She's got a whole new different mindset. And I got to tell you, there's a very good chance that Joe Biden's going to pass away in office or just get kicked out because he's going to be so exhausted. The man's over 68 years of age.
78.
See him. He's frail. He's old. He's got onset dementia. He's going to be tossed out on with the 25th Amendment because he's incapable of carrying on. And then she takes over. Oh, my God. Talk about losing our national culture, our ethos, our identity. I tell you what, I've never been so afraid for our country as I have during this last election.
I don't mean to correct you, my dear friend, but you misspoke. Biden is 78, not 68, and on a downhill slide mentally.
Yeah, he's 78 years old plus.
That's right. We have time for one quick call. Caller, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds. I've got to shorten it up. Go ahead real fast.
It has been my observation that in our Congress, lately the Republicans have picked more veterans than ever before, and the opposing party, I don't think they've even got a veteran in their system.
Frosty, respond quickly if you would, please. I dare say that that's not correct. There are some that have fought in the military that are on the left in the Congress, but I'm going to have you respond quickly.
Yeah, there's several. In fact, I respect one of them here, Jason Crow here in Colorado. He's a Democrat. He was a fine soldier. He was a major, served 2 or 3 terms in Iraq, and I've got great respect. He is a Democrat, and so there are on both sides. But what I'm hoping is we regain in this country an understanding that the American ethos and our culture and our language, English, has been the most successful country on the globe. And when you look at places like Iraq or what's happening to Canada or what's happening to Europe right now, you're seeing a mass confusion of national identity. I mean, France doesn't even know who it is right now, and London, England is not all British. It's half Muslim and half British. And so Sweden is being it's getting undermined by all of its immigrants, and it's not going to survive. You know, and I'll make this is the most important quote I could ever say. It's the social scientist Garrett Hardin, whom I knew back in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And he said, and I'm quoting, "Diversity within a nation destroys unity and leads to civil war. Immigration, a benefit during the youth of a nation, can act as a disease in its mature state. Too much internal diversity in a large nation has led to violence and disintegration. We are now in the process of destabilizing America. The magic words of destabilizers are diversity and multiculturalism," unquote. If you look at what's happening with Antifa, if you look at what's happening with Black Lives Matter, with Boogaloo, and I can go right on down the line, we are being destabilized by the very forces that we injected into our country, and they were injected into this country by the U.S. Congress, specifically the 1965 Immigration Reform Act, which should be completely nullified at this point, and stop invading our country by our own hand.
There you go.
By our own Congress.
Yep.
You have got, each one of us, have got to call your senators, you have got to call your House members, you've got to call up the TV and get this on the front of the American, forefront of the American people, because if we don't, and this thing continues, again, 10 years from now, we're going to have 35 million more foreigners in our country, and we already have 45 million more foreigners that were not born here, and it's changing the face of our country, not for the better, but for the worse.
I got to run, Frost.
The more it keeps changing for the worse.
I'm out of time, but to the caller that called in and said he couldn't think of any veterans that were on the left, I'll give you one that absolutely turns and curdles my milk, and that's Liar about his Vietnam service, and that was Senator Richard Blumenthal. Yeah, he was quite the dandy.
Yeah, Blumenthal.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and the real tragedy about somebody like a Joe Biden, he played 4 years of high school football, but he got, I think it was 4 deferments for asthma.
Yeah.
And so here it is. Joe Biden is as bad as Bill Clinton, because Bill Clinton got 5 deferments himself. So, you know, here he was when he was a youth, a coward, and now he's sitting here as President of the United States, along with somebody like Bill Clinton, and you know how that all works.
I got to run. I hate to cut you off.
We're in a lot of trouble, and God bless us. I at this point, all I can do, along with you, is stand up and speak out and tell the facts of what are actually happening to our country, and that's what I will continue to do every Monday on this radio show.
I appreciate it.
Across the country and with all the columns I write, is just tell the facts, and then it's up to you and all of us, the American people, to vote Americans into office, not Somalians, not Palestinians, not somebody who's for the Muslim Brotherhood, but American citizens, because this is our country, and we better stand up. We better speak out to preserve it and our U.S. Constitution.
God bless you, man. I'm way late. Got to run. Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. God bless you, man. Thanks so much. He's gone. Okay. Thanks, buddy. Don't forget, your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today and find out about a Lennox home comfort system that will help you. Call them at 678-0459 or visit Ramsey'sOnline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Time now. Past time for the weather, quickly brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. These are wonderful, sharp people, the professionals in accounting services to the Mini-Cash area and beyond. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and more for you, your family, and your business. With offices in Burley and Rupert, the professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Winter could be making an appearance this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Slight chance of snow showers for today, mostly in the afternoon. It is going to be cloudy with a high of 39. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25. Clouds sticking around for tomorrow, gradually clearing, high of 39 by Wednesday. 40% chance of snow showers, and we are expecting a high of 39 by Thanksgiving, partly sunny, and 37. That's a look at your weather for 7th Rain.
And brought to you by my friends and your friends, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. As I said, they are the professionals with accounting services to help you. Please remember they have office locations at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and, of course, 625th Street in Rupert. The professionals, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Want to also mention some other great folks. Oh, am I running late? Yes, I am. Some other great professionals, and that's, of course, Patterson's Electronics. They know all about electronics, everything and anything at 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena serving you. Oh, boy, now's the time to get in there and check out a home theater system for your enjoyment. Video surveillance cameras to protect your property, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, and settle back and watch a great television. Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. What a selection. All of this and more with our friends at Patterson's Electronics. And they've got dehydrated food in stock, too. Great, great prices. Check it out. 421 East Main in Burley. Patterson's Electronics, waiting to serve you. Whew! Take a deep breath. I am. We're going to go to the news. I'll be back in 7. Good morning and welcome back to hour number 3 on a cloudy, chilly, no doggone it, it's cold outside. Monday morning, November the 23rd already. Just a few days away from Thanksgiving, and I pray that you will enjoy it with your family. Thank you. We're brought to you, of course, by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with the best of tires and service to you. And also Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, your home is one place where everything should be perfect, including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric today and see how you can get a Lennox home comfort system that'll help improve your health. Call Ramsey's at 678-0459 or visit Ramsey'sOnline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. One more quick note before we go to our guest. Don't forget there's a lot of big things happening over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More with their pre-Black Friday sale. No money down, no interest, 48 months on approved credit. Oh, start the car. Head for Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I mean, we're talking tremendous savings on recliners, and they've got one of the largest selections of recliners anywhere, anytime. Stop in in and see that today. Sofas, sectionals, of course, all the dining room sets, and, of course, all your floor coverings. Just absolutely a great pre-Black Friday sale going on right now at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Let's go to the phone line right now, and we have with us a gentleman that has a brand new book out called Getting the Most Bang for the Education Buck, and his name is Brandon Wright. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Okay, Brandon, when I say, and we've got feedback on the line here, Sean, if you would please. When I say the title, Getting the Most Bang for the Education Buck, give us a little synopsis about what this book is all about.
The idea is that when it comes to school budgets, the conversation tends to be dominated by one demand, and that's that schools need more. Seems to be sort of the only question, the only call when this is talked about. And although it's true that there are, some school systems in the country that are underfunded, an equally, if not more important question is how is each dollar that every school system has, how is that dollar spent? That's not talked about enough. It doesn't matter if a school district is underfunded, funded appropriately, or overfunded. It is important how we spend the dollars that we have. That's the purpose of this book, both to get the conversation happening more commonly and make sure that the conversation goes productively when it is happening.
It's so interesting to have you on this program and talk about education. And again, Sean, there's still a wee bit feedback on the line for some reason. I am absolutely adamant that education needs to be cleaned up with a big mop, a dustpan, and a broom, with the exorbitant prices that are being charged to go to higher education, the colleges and universities. And then also I'm very concerned about the power of the teachers' unions. I'd like you to respond to that if you would, please.
Yeah. The issue, right, is just that education tends to be a big bureaucracy, and bureaucracies, tend to suffer from bloat as time goes on. It's very easy to add things to it. Very difficult to take them away. So over time, we have added things like more staff. We've added employee benefits that states haven't appropriately funded. And so over time, we have more and more costs. And that's why the United States spends more per student than anywhere else in the world, essentially. Yet we get a very mediocre product because the money that's being spent isn't being concentrated on the things that actually affect what kids are learning in the classroom. So, like you said, a lot of changes have to be made. A lot of cleaning, has to be done. And that's basically what all the chapters in the book cover, different ways to improve this in school systems across the country.
Well, let me ask you this, Brandon. When it comes to cleaning up this mess with education, the high cost and what's being taught or what's not being taught to the students from actually elementary all the way through the university system, how do we oversee this? How do we change it? What needs to be done?
So that's a big question, and there are tons of answers, but two really sort of big-ticket items that we talk about in the book is staffing and benefits. So the benefits one is pretty quick, so I'll say that first. We have about $500 billion in unfunded pension debt for public service employees across the country. 70 cents of every dollar spent on that debt is going to people who aren't currently employed. They're going to retirees. And the people who are paying this debt are the current employees. So they're essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul. And they're doing it in a way that is entirely unsustainable. On top of that, a bunch of systems in the country give teachers health care for life. So they have these programs that are redundant with a number of government programs that also provide free health care. Now, if my employer offered me these benefits, I would, of course, love them. But the problem, right, is that this is a publicly funded enterprise, and It is an entirely unsustainable system, and so things have to change, and we can no longer have these, lifelong pensions and lifelong health care benefits for new employees. So as these systems hire more people, they're going to have to make tough choices and have to bring the employer in to their own retirement plans. For staffing, we have seen over the last 20, 30 years the number of non-instructional staff skyrocket, while teacher pay, adjusted for inflation, hasn't really budged at all. So we're paying a bunch of more. We're paying a bunch more adults to be in our schools and our district offices, doing admin work, doing sort of aid work in schools. But we're not actually paying the individuals that have the greatest effect on what our kids learn and how well they learn it, our teachers. So we're essentially paying more for staff, but doing it in the exact wrong way. So the solution there is to reduce the number of non-instructional staff, trust teachers with more, and attract more people to the teaching profession and keep them in there by rewarding the effective teachers that you actually have, by giving them things like a raise, like we do in every other profession in the whole world. We reward excellence. We don't do that with teaching, which is very strange. So that's just two among, a ton of ways we can improve this, but they're big-ticket items and pretty egregious.
Brandon, I'm going to say this, and bear with me on my statement. I want to hear your response, that when it comes to the supposed President-elect Joe Biden wanting to forgive student loans, I absolutely am incensed over this. I'm mad. I work 2 jobs day and night to pay my way through school, and these kids that want to go to Harvard, Michigan, or let's say the University of Southern California and major in basket weaving for 4 years, and then they want the public to pick up their debt. That is asinine, and I totally am against it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've seen a little bit about his plans, and I sort of agree that when a student is going to school and choosing a job afterwards with no intention of having their loans forgiven, that's not the best use, perhaps, of government funding. The one exception, the big exception here, though, is that there has been a program in place for years and years where when kids go to college and they enter the workforce, there's a program that said if you worked in the public sector for 10 years, you would have your loans forgiven. So kids, like I went to law school, for example. Kids went to law school knowing that they would have this program. So they took out all of these loans with the government's promise that if I work for the government, or if I'm a teacher, or if I do these things for 10 years, that I'm going to have my loans forgiven. And when you go to law school, the interest rate on these loans and the principal on these loans are so large that I have kids I went to law school with that have never paid $1 in principal because their interest rates and their principal are so high. So these people went from having $200,000 in loans to $300,000 in loans because they worked in public sector for 10 years. If you don't honor the government's promise before to forgive that debt now, then you're doing a great disservice to at least these particular people. Now, bringing in extra funding to forgive other loans that were not part of this promise at all, I agree that could be very, very expensive, and the government needs to be, very, very mindful of what it spends its dollars on. And unfortunately, government is pretty bad at that, especially Democrats. So, so I sort of agree with what I think you're saying, but with that big exception.
Well, it's really understandable what I'm saying. I mean, there are a lot of lawyers, doctors, etc., that didn't go to Harvard and pay $50,000 a year for tuition, and they went to other universities and colleges, and they still have their degree, they still have their diplomas, and they still are very productive paying members in our society. And I'm sick and tired of the leeches going to school just basically for 4 years and not getting a degree, not doing anything, and expecting me and you, the taxpayer, to pick up the tab, and I'm not going to do it.
Sure. So that's fair.
No other comment. Okay.
That's fair.
Well, what's fair is fair, and the cost of education is outrageous. And right now, the universities, I think they need a good slap in the face, literally, to cut back on their costs. It's absolutely prohibitive to go to some of these bigger schools. They know they've got you. That's the key word, gotcha, on some of their tuition rates. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I live in Ann Arbor, and I went to the University of Michigan here, and I'm from the area. So when I went to school there, it was something like $12,000-$13,000 a year in tuition. The out-of-state kids are paying something like $50 to $55 for literally the exact same education. Now, I love my alma mater, and I love this city and stuff, but I have no problem saying that $55,000 a year for the same education that you're giving to an in-state kid for 12 or 15, that's too much money. And I don't think it needs to cost that much. And I don't think you need to force kids to take out that many loans and go into debt. And then if we didn't have such a student debt problem in this country, this conversation about Biden's plan and all of these other things wouldn't be happening. So I think higher education when it comes to tuition is very, very broken in a number of ways. I will say that this isn't my area of expertise. I do K-12. So these are really just sort of my personal thoughts on this. It doesn't really have anything to do with my professional expertise.
Let me ask you this, as far as the curriculum. We can talk about this. I am adamant that we've got away from the civics. We've got away from the history. We've got away from teaching the pride in this great country, the greatest country ever on the face of the earth, the United States of America. And I really condemn and damn education as it is today for not centering and teaching about how great this country is and a great civics program about our Constitution and our values. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree strongly. I think we spend too much time on math and reading, and this is largely because of the role that testing plays. Now, I'm pro-test in terms of keeping them sort of. We need to know what our kids learn, but testing shouldn't be the end-all, be-all, and central focus of school, and it has become that in too many places, which is why we focus so much on reading and math, and things like science and things like civics have been largely forgotten. I find it absolutely appalling and inexcusable that you see these polls or these surveys, and they find that something like only 30% of adults can actually name the 3 branches of government. That is an educational failure of the highest possible magnitude. That is completely inexcusable. How do we expect our citizens to participate in our democracy, to participate in our communities, if they don't have any understanding whatsoever of just the basic way in which it's organized, the basic way in which it functions? The stakes here are as high as they can be anywhere. The stakes here are the health of our democracy, the health of our republic. So I think there are a few things more important in K-12 education than improving civics. So I am 100% in agreement with you.
But, Brandon, how do we change it? I'm not trying to force you into a corner and paint around the corner. I'm saying, what do we do to change it? It seems like there's so many people that do not want to take the time, 17 seconds out of the day, to say the Pledge of Allegiance. This is asinine. We've got away from value system and studying our history, and I don't know what we do to change it.
So I think one good way is to not only allow but encourage communities to sort of organize their schools around the values of the parents and families in that area. And I think if you did that, you would find in most places that most parents are proud to be Americans and do want their kids to to be taught sort of to have that same pride and to have that same sort of knowledge of their country. So what I think is part of the problem is sort of on a national level or state level, you have these very loud minorities, and I don't mean that from a racial standpoint. I mean like, you know, not the majority of people.
Right.
Who put pressure on school systems and leaders to bend over backwards to not offend anybody. And when you do that, I feel like you go against the will of communities, the will of most parents, and you do things like, you know, banning the Pledge of Allegiance or, right, not teaching kids to be, you know, proud of their country or somehow turning the word patriotic into something bad. I think that goes against what most parents and most families and most Americans think. So if you allowed communities to sort of better form the values on which their schools are built, if you allowed them to create their own curricula, and I mean that the leaders in that district would do it as opposed to teacher by teacher creating their own, then I think you would find, as long as you emphasize that civics needs to be a big part of this, you would see some improvement there.
Okay, one final thought here before I let you go, Brandon. Are the teachers' unions way too strong and have way too much sway and say as to what's being taught or not?
I don't think they have too much sway in terms of what's taught. I think that they're clearly the most powerful union in the country, and they're sort of the loud voice I talked about at the beginning in terms of schools needing to have greater funding and trying to move the conversation away from how dollars are spent or how to spend them better. So I think unions are sort of have become overpowered in certain places, and that does have some negative consequences. I am on the fence about this. I feel like I grew up in the auto industry. Unions sort of around the Great Recession, the UAW sort of hurt my dad, but the UAW also allowed my grandfather to have a job for his entire life and raised my dad and led to me. So I think unions can play a role, but unions become harmful when they get too powerful and the sort of bargaining room tips too far in their favor. So I don't exactly know how to fix that, but it's an issue.
Let me ask you this real quick, final question. When people close the cover on your book, Getting the Most Bang for the Education Buck, what do you want them to take away from your book and remember?
Any reader, I want them to believe that the schools in their area, their city, their state, schools around the country, that they're not spending their money in a way that is smart, but they can and they should, and that we as citizens need to put pressure on these systems to be more efficient and deliberate with the way they spend money.
Okay. Now, where can people find the book?
It's anywhere you buy your books. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, things like that.
Okay.
Kindle and hardcover and paperback versions.
Well, Brandon, I tell you, I really appreciated our conversation. I hope you'll come back in the future. The book is called Getting the Most Bang for the Education Buck. Brandon Wright, thank you, sir, and the very best and happiest of Thanksgivings to you.
Same to you and your family.
Thank you. There you go, Getting the Most Bang for the Education Buck. And he lays it all out. The United States already spends about $700 billion with a B, $700 billion on K through 12 public education, and that averages out to $14,000 per student. Getting the most of the biggest bang for the education buck. Okay, what have we got here? Oh, another good word. Yes, we do. Your home is the one place where everything should be perfect, 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 including your air. Ramsey Heating and Electric helps you achieve the perfect air you deserve with reliable, groundbreaking, award-winning Lennox products. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric can help you get a Lennox home comfort system installed in your home. Call them today at 678-0459 or visit ramseysonline.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Absolutely. Let me see. What other stories did I have? Oh, this is really scary, folks. Really, really scary. That CBS and their reporters have been very, come see, come saw, not very forward-thinking, and they kind of go with the flow. Well, one CBS reporter over the last couple of days at a so-called news conference with Joe Biden simply asked the questions about Chinese trade and what was going to change with the Chinese. And can you believe it? This man, this reporter for CBS, was ushered out of the room. Evidently, it didn't fall into the questioning that would be allowed to Joe Biden, the supposed president-elect, and he was taken from the room. Is that the kind of an administration we're looking at and possibly going to get? You have to adhere to a following list of questions so that old Joe can have it on the teleprompter and he can respond? This is absolutely ridiculous. And then what's scary in a free press, a free nation like supposedly America is, that reporter is told to leave the room for asking a very sensible question about China and trade? I hope that's not the administration that is going to be in office for 4 years in this United States of America. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Hi, thank you, sir, and welcome back to our last half hour. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and with us, with Minidoka Animal Control, and, of course, also representing Wagon Tails Rescue for this segment, talking about dogs. Good morning, Deb Hines. How are you?
I'm good, Deb. How are you?
Well, I'm good. And by the way, in case I forget later on, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
And same to you.
I appreciate that. It sounds to me, I can hear in the background, and it's picking up really good. You must be sitting in the midst of about 350 puppies.
No, let's see, there's only 7.
Well, tell us a little bit about the puppies.
They are Border Collie crosses. Their dad's a purebred Border, and their mother's a Border Cross.
Okay.
I've got black and white, gray and white. I've got white with black spots on their butt. You name it, I got one.
And you've got 7 of them, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, are they ready and open for people to come by and see them and maybe take them home for a Thanksgiving Day gift, or what's the story there?
We have people coming to look at them, and if they want one, we're tagging them.
Okay.
I'm not going to let them go for another 3 weeks.
I see. Okay.
Well, I want to make sure we don't get sickness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, these 7 little puppies, how did you come to have them? I mean, were they just dropped off, or what's the story?
Oh, yeah. Them and their mom were in the drop box.
Oh, my.
I have the mom, too. She's really a neat dog.
Okay, so you've got the mother and 7 Border Collie crosses. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, Deb, I was going to ask you a couple of questions this morning, because the weather is going to be changing, and it's going to be fairly consistent as far as being cold and everything. What are some of the cold weather needs that maybe people overlook for their dogs? Well, give us some of those.
Well, they need to please make sure they have bedding down in their kennels or wherever they sleep, and I'll be honest with you, if they can, I would put a heat lamp in there, because when we're down to 20 degrees at night before the wind chill, it's not good for them.
Right.
And we don't want to get them sick. We also need to make sure that they've always got water.
Right.
Because they will drink tons more in the winter than they do in the summer.
Well,
and I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the way it is. And horses do the same thing. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, let me ask you this, though, and really they're not that expensive, those electric waterers, heaters, so that they'll hold maybe a gallon or 2 gallons of water and plug in. Absolutely a necessity. There's nothing worse than frozen water. They can't get anything. They dehydrate, and those aren't that expensive.
No, they're not, and you can get them at any ranch store like Cal Ranch or Valley Wide or any of those guys. And I'm not real sure that Walmart doesn't have them.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's the first thing I would do.
The other question...
Make sure that is how those dogs get their water.
Absolutely.
And I have heat lamps in my kennels outside, because even though they're indoors in an enclosed building, it still gets cold in there.
Very much so.
Cold.
Yeah. The other thing I want to ask you about, and you'd probably be much more the expert than I ever would on this. When it comes to horses, I understand feed and nutrition, but when it comes to dogs, I was going to ask you, all the dog foods that are on the market today, how does one discern what is best for young dogs, older dogs, puppies? How do you know which is the best?
Well, the first thing we do is the puppy food is all we ever feed to the pups. And I watch the protein in it. If you get too high a protein, they're going to get sick, because their little bodies can't digest that stuff.
Uh-huh.
I also have, believe it or not, we have senior food in here for dogs that are older that don't need very high protein. And the stuff we feed in here, as I said before, we mix, because I get a lot of high protein, and it makes the dog sick, so we mix our high and our low protein to kind of even them out. And don't get me wrong, Blue Buffalo is an awesomely good food, but if you don't have dogs that are working, moving, and doing things, it is too high a protein for their little systems.
So when you say high protein, Deb, what kind of numbers are you talking about? Explain that a little bit.
28, 29, 30, up in that.
Okay.
And it'll say right on the back of the bags what the protein rate is.
So what would you say for, in general, most dogs that are like farm and ranch dogs or whatever, what kind of a protein level do they need?
If they're working every day, feed them the high protein. I mean, if they're out moving, doing stuff every day, get them on the high protein, because that helps their body.
Right.
It helps their energy level, and it keeps them healthy.
Okay.
But if they're just, a house baby, and all they really do is kind of just sit in the yard and hang out, keep their protein to a minimum.
Okay. What about the fat levels and the other digestive levels? I mean, do you want in the wintertime more of a fat concentrate, more of a fat level?
Yes, because that helps them keep that body fat on. And, I mean, they're just like we are. In the wintertime, we always eat heavier, right?
Right.
So that we can maintain. And in the summertime, everybody backs off and tries to lose weight. And it's the same with the dogs.
Okay, now, food, water, anything else for the winter months that we should be concerned about? I would also add to that a good shelter that they can get in and out of.
Right. Make sure they can get in and out of the cold. And, like I said, the biggest thing is to make sure that they always have food and water in front of them.
Absolutely.
That is an absolute necessity.
Absolutely. Now, do you have another dog or a couple of dogs that you want to mention this morning besides those border cross puppies?
Oh, my goodness. I have several huskies.
Really?
And husky crosses.
Huh.
That are house trained and absolutely get along wonderfully with other dogs. And I've got a couple of lab crosses in here.
Wow. I don't think there's a prettier dog when they're all groomed out than there is a husky. Quickly tell us what kind of dogs they are, and then we'll take a phone call.
Well, they're all of them right now are white with black, but one's got one blue eye, one brown eye. One's got two brown eyes, and does one of those huskies have two blue eyes? And I think one's got two blue eyes.
Okay.
I mean, but they're beautiful dogs.
And are they all full grown, or are they puppies also?
No, they're full grown, and they're out running, having a good time together.
Okay. All right. Hey, Deb, we've got a caller with a question or a comment. Go ahead, caller, please.
It makes me so angry when I see people driving around with their dogs standing in the back of their pickups. Is there any type of law or regulation or any place to report them, any way to govern that such things? I'll hang up and take your answer. Thank you.
You know, that lady that called Deb is really true. What about laws about dogs in the back of pickups? And I'll tell you a circumstance before you answer. It wasn't that many winters ago. I was in downtown Twin Falls, and I got out of my pickup, and I'm face to face with a Doberman that's in the back of the pickup downtown. That son of a gun could have taken my head off, or he could have bit a little child or whatever. What about the laws of dogs in the back of pickups?
There are no laws. They are your animals. You can do with them what you want. I, too, get irritated with that. They can jump out. They get hurt.
Yep.
And practically everybody's driving at least an extended cab. Put them in the back seat. If they're house-trained, they're not going to do anything. You know?
Well, I agree with you. Yeah.
All state law requires, even outside, is all I have to do when I do a wellness check, food, water, and housing. That's it. That's all I can look at.
Mm-hmm. Well, I get a little irritated because I don't like getting out of a truck, especially when you're talking about angular parking and you park next to somebody and... Pardon?
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, Zeb, and you get out and, all of a sudden your whole body's been ripped apart. That's nice.
Yeah, really. Well, listen, let's talk a little bit more. I'm almost out of time, and I want to talk a little bit about those huskies. You say you have more than one, more than two. How many do you have? Because I think huskies are the most beautiful dogs in the world. Tell us quickly more about them.
I've got 3 huskies right now.
Okay.
And Bandit, Frodo, and what's the other one's name? Bandit, Frodo, and Coda.
Okay. And all those dogs are available over at the Minidoka County Animal Shelter and along with Wagon Tails Rescue. Quickly give us a plug for those great people at Wagon Tails.
Wagon Tails Rescue is our partner in spay and neuter. Anybody that has an animal that lives within, around here, we have a program set up that you can come in and fill out some paperwork and give us a minute until we get our donations in, and for $25 you can get your dog or cat spay or neutered. All
right. And the telephone number of Minidoka Animal Control so these folks can be sure and check out these huskies and the Border Collie Cross puppies. What's the number and the time?
It's 208-438-2200. We are here from 8 to 1 Monday through Friday, except for this week because of Thanksgiving, and 8 to noon on Saturdays.
Deb Hines, you are committed to serving the canines, and I absolutely respect you for what you do. God bless you, and have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Zeb, and you guys do the same, okay?
We will. Thank you so much. I tell you what, she loves her work, and you can hear the puppies in the background and everything. And please, please take care of your dogs. Take care of your dogs. The weather's cold. They deserve the best of care. Water, heated waterers, dog food, shelter. Maybe a half a bale of straw thrown in there or whatever. It's not going to break the bank, and it's sure going to take care of our canine friends. Weather forecast brought to you by Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Boy, they're busy right now. They've got all the hams. They've got all the smoked turkeys. They've got all the tri-tip. They've got all the prime rib. Oh, I'm drooling. It sounds so good. Get a hold of them today. Scarrow's Meats, Don Scarrow and his excellent staff over in Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. We'll tell you more right after Gina has the weather.
Winter could be making an appearance this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Slight chance of snow showers for today, mostly in the afternoon. It is going to be cloudy with a high of 39. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 25. Clouds sticking around for tomorrow, gradually clearing. High of 39 by Wednesday. 40% chance of snow showers, and we are expecting a high of 39 by Thanksgiving. Partly sunny and 37. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. And don't forget, they've got gift boxes over there of your favorite meats. Oh, what a great gift that would be. They've got all the different flavors of bacon and sausage. Oh, you name it. It's all there at Scarrow's Meats. Don Scarrow and the staff at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number again. Give them a call. 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat. One delicious bite at a time. I gotta tell you that I could not believe this article in the paper that was in Sunday's paper. And policeman Dan Bristol has a column in there every week, and here was the headline. Do I have to clean up my yard? When I read that, I thought, well, yeah, you idiot. If you're my neighbor, you do. I don't want to live in a trashy neighborhood. You know, I got to thinking about this, and this guy had the question, and I'm going to read this part of it. I got a notice from the city I live in to clean up my yard. How can the city try to force me to do things on my property that is mine? You know, are we living in that kind of a sloppy, slovenly society to where you've got to ask a stupid question like, do I have to clean up my yard? You know, we went in Kimberly the other day and shot in there, and we drove by this place, and it's surrounded by nice-looking homes, and they've taken care of the buildings, and they've taken care of the bushes and the shrubbery, and then this one place in Kimberly stands out like you hit your thumb with a hammer. I mean, it's so filthy, so dirty, and there's garbage. And then there's another place on Addison going into Twin Falls, and it's surrounded by nice homes. These people have bought acreages, and they put a lot of time and effort into the beauty of their homes. And then you've got this one Nimrod that absolutely, there's garbage bags laying around and old cars and car parts. Why? And then the dumbest question in the world, do I have to clean up my yard? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, years ago I was on the Burley Highway District, and my pet peeve was people who don't respect the right-of-way. In other words, they let their trees grow and they stick out and people scratch their cars and everything else. I wish that people would be more responsible and take care of those things, because the highway district can demand that you pay to have it done if you don't do it.
Yeah.
They're very good to work with, but I would like to see, especially where I live in Burley on Grandview Lane, there's 3 lanes going up there, and all 3 of them need attention.
I have no time, and I will give no excuses for anyone that has a sloppy, filthy, dirty place. You're sure there are people that all of a sudden became incapacitated or whatever, and they can't go out and maybe mow their lawn or pick things up, etc. But there are ways to solve that problem, too. And the other thing that really gripes me, Keith, and I don't care, I'll probably have a bunch of idiots do it tonight or something, people that go by, throw out their beer cans, pop cans, trash, etc. That is just totally irresponsible, and I wish the law was so much tougher on those people if we get their license plate number.
hard to track down someone who does that.
Well,
the thing that's surprising to me, Zeb, is the fact before they throw that can out, they'll look around.
Yeah.
And make sure they're not going to get caught.
I'll tell you what, I'd love to. Here's what I'd like to do for all the people that throw trash out. I'd like to gather up all the trash, find out where they live, and go and pile it, no matter how big the pile, on their front porch.
Good thinking, but ain't gonna happen.
I know. Keith, I got another call, and I'm short on time. God bless you for your call. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Caller, good morning. You're on the air quickly.
Good morning, Zeb. This is Colise calling. I don't know if you guys are all aware, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that we are forming a new committee in the communities for Minidoka and Cassia counties. It's called United We Stand, and it was created right after the debacle of the vote that happened last week to us. And I'm just wanting to, kind of maybe somehow let some people know about it and see if anybody that you know or yourself would like to get involved with us.
It's called United We Stand.
Mini Cassia United We Stand. We have a Facebook group. We have some meetings going on. I want to be the voice of we want to be the public that can be heard and not just pushed aside and people can do what they want in our politics around here. I could just spend hours and hours and kind of tell you what our mission is, but it's basically we want to be heard as a community for the Cassia area.
Well, here's what I want you to do, and I will do everything I can to support you, but I want you to send me all the information you can to my email address, which is zebattheranch@hotmail.com, and send that to me, and I'll look it over, read it, and I'll get you or someone else on the air, and we'll talk more about it. How's that?
All right, Zeb at the Ranch at what?
zebattheranch@hotmail.com.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your help.
Thank you. God bless you for your call. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely in favor of that kind of thing. We need more Americans to get more involved. Hey, I want to remind you, too, about our great sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Absolutely. The best in tires, all the tread designs that'll fit all the tires on all the vehicles. You better believe it. They've got the best in tires for you. And a lot of people don't know it, but I'm telling you, they've got the best in brake service. Highly trained brake technicians, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Oh, nothing worse on a cold winter morning to go outside the door and close the door of your vehicle, turn the key, and it goes click, 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 click. You better make sure you've got a good battery, and they've got them all at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike in Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, along with the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What have we got cooking for tomorrow? Well, let's see. We got Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance, and we've got Dr. History. Boy, we get a lot of calls about Dr. History and his stories and everything. That's coming up tomorrow. A couple of other great people that are scheduled to be on the program. Should be a jam-up, bang-up program. You be a part of it. Here's our Bible verse for today. Before we run out of time, we're going to do this every day, and the Bible verse for today is out of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 30. The good shall never lose God's blessings, but the wicked shall lose everything. Remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to me, in God we trust. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.